I'm Julie Heffernan. I teach at Montclair State University in New Jersey. I have been a painter for 30 years, maybe longer.
Julie Heffernan was born in the Midwest, grew up in the Bay Area, and now lives in Brooklyn. She first came east for graduate school at Yale, but it wasn't until she was on a Fulbright fellowship in Berlin that she really knew she could be an artist. It was then that she began thinking visually. She calls it image streaming.
It's a really interesting process. I don't understand why it's not talked about more, because it's certainly something that anybody visual would experience. I mean, I have asked people, do you have pictures that well up into your brain? And some people say, yes, I've had it since I was 2. And other people say, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't see visually. I don't think visually at all.
Julie's paintings are huge, full of detail, and bring together an eclectic mix of references from art history, women's issues, even climate change. She created one series of paintings after reading an article in The New Yorker by Elizabeth Kolbert.
I had read her 3-part piece about climate change, Climate of Man it's called, way back in, I think it was 2005 or 4, when people were just starting to think about this or talk about this thing called climate change, and she just wrote it. This article was such good journalism. I mean, it was a little mini science course that she gave all of us in beautiful, accessible language that made me say, okay, I've got to change my work. I've got to make it all about this, because this is the most important issue of our time.
Julie calls the series When the Water Rises. It became a traveling museum show that toured the South and Southeast, the areas in the United States most impacted by the increase in powerful storms.
Each venue, Houston, Baton Rouge, Virginia Beach, right around the time that the show went up, there was a crazy superstorm, and there were mattresses all over the sidewalks afterwards, as I depict in the paintings.
At the Rowan University Art Gallery, Julie is showing a new series called Mending a Reflection. In most of these paintings, a central figure gazes out at the viewer, but it's by exploring what's around the woman that we discover what's on her mind.
It's almost like she's inviting you in, and then you can notice everything else.
This series is all about women, both as they're depicted in paintings by male artists from the past, and as images of the real women that Julie Heffernan herself admires.
This was the first one of this series, and I was just starting to give myself permission to surround myself with these women who I admire so much. So I remember saying, oh my God, do I let myself have Joni Mitchell? There's Joni Mitchell.
Trina wears her warm palm beads. She fills her drawing book with light.
I also included Willa Cather, Louisa May Alcott. She was the first female writer that gave me a woman's world when I was just a little kid. Nina Simone, Jane Campion, the filmmaker who made the piano. Also in Self-Portrait with Daughters is Artemisia Gentileschi, who was one of the first female painters I'd ever heard of. Not only was she an exquisite painter, but she had one of these Me Too lives.
Some of these self-portraits have art supplies on the floor, colored pencils or paintbrushes, suggesting that they're works in progress.
Well, certainly the topical issues are age-old. I mean, the Me Too movement just put its finger on something that all of us, our mothers, our grandmothers, have all experienced. The paintings have become about how we might deal with them, with these problems, in inventive ways, how creative we're going to have to be. So I have my ploys to insinuate the ugliness through the beauty.